I hope that I can be a voice of inspiration because it just so demonstrates it's never too late. If you have that deep desire in your heart, I promise you it's your truth.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am really excited today to introduce to you my friend, Wendy Darling. So she is the founder of Miraculous Living Institute. With over 44 years of experience as a relationship and transformational results expert, speaker, seminar facilitator, management and organizational development consultant, master healer, and coach, I need to take a breath. Wendy has created a unique and innovative system, the Miraculous Living Method, that allows you to get the results you want with greater ease and speed. Wow, wow, wow. Wendy works with all facets of relationships, singles who want to finally attract love into their life, attract love now, couples who want to replenish their relationship, miraculous living, the relationship with your body and health, loving yourself lean, business owners and executives and their teams to strengthen the team for greater productivity and profits. Wendy also trains and certifies coaches and practitioners in her programs and methodology. Wendy formerly hosted 2 of her own radio shows and has been featured in Forbes as well as numerous other publications. She is the #1 bestseller author of Create Your Miraculous Life, It's Never Too Late, and The Miracle That Is Your Life. Wendy's clients repeatedly refer to her as their personal fairy godmother. Bippity boppity boo, love it. For assisting them in turning their dreams into reality. Welcome, Wendy.
It's wonderful to be here. I always start laughing when I listen to all of this. It's like, I guess I really have been around for a while.
Absolutely. Like, in such a beautiful way. You and I were just talking about some of the technology that's been advanced that we got to see in our lifetime, and how, it wasn't something, we don't want to look through rose-colored glasses around the good old days, but there certainly were some things around elegance and dressing up to go for dinner, those kinds of things, right?
Oh, dressing up to go on an airplane.
Oh, you're right. I still do that. Do you?
No. I don't dress down, but I dress comfortably.
Right. I think,
Yeah.
and that's smart. But I'm sure, like, I've seen you dressed, like, you always look stylish. So,
Oh,
and I think that's really, smart, is to, if you're looking, and that is also elegance, is if you're able to be comfortable, like, you can wear polyester, you can wear cashmere, right?
anything that doesn't wrinkle works for me.
Right.
Although, I don't know, I've gotten back into linen lately. It's like, okay, I'll live with my wrinkles. It's fine. Not on my clothes, not on necessarily on me.
Nicely put. So, Wendy, you live in Florida, right?
I do.
Yeah. So, thinking about the timing of this episode coming out, I mean, you've gone through 2 hurricanes.
Major
So,
hurricane.
tell us
Yeah.
a bit about um, that experience for you. And I'm just curious even about the mindset and the work that you do, and how that has supported you as you've gone through this, and how maybe you've supported others.
Yeah. Well, I've only lived in Florida now for a little over 2 years. And right after I first moved here, we had Hurricane Ian. It was my welcome gift. And then we did just have Helene and Milton. So I have always been somewhat intuitive, but after a serious accident many years ago, I became incredibly intuitive. So for me, I go within when I hear that, for example, a hurricane's coming. Because first of all, I happen to live in an area that was not required to evacuate. But still, it's important to check in. And I kept feeling like we were going to be okay. And actually, we were. We had some minor issues. Compared to so many people that have lost everything, I have nothing to complain about. And I have to say, even as Milton literally came right over us. And it was loud. I could see we have hurricane shades. So they're made out of the material that they make bulletproof vests with. I don't remember what the metal is. And I could see our palms through the hurricane shades that came down to a portion of our lanai, just flapping all over the place. Yet the plants that we brought in to the inside of our lanai, nothing was even moving. I mean, I was so impressed with that. I was like, wow, these things really work well. And so I had peace. We were still watching TV from time to time. We were very blessed. Our electricity only popped off twice, and it was for 2 very brief times, but we were prepared. And my intuition, I felt very calm. Now, at some point, the eye of the hurricane also passed over us, and it suddenly became very quiet and very calm.
Whoa.
And what I didn't realize, I mean, my head was so happy because I didn't realize to the extent the noise and also the pressure from the storm had been impacting me. And I've had a head injury, a brain injury. So I am sensitive, but even Steve and we had a friend stay with us who did need to evacuate. And they both were kind of like, that feels better. And then typically the backside of the hurricane is gentler, but this time it was even more intense. And so our friend actually went to sleep around 10 or 10:30, but we were still in heavy winds. And Steve found a real comfortable place on the couch and he was snoozing. I was awake, and around 1 o'clock he woke up. I hadn't gone to sleep yet. And he said, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, okay, I'll come. And we get in our bedroom and it was quieter in there. It was like, why did we not do this sooner? So I just had peace throughout. I happen to be one of those people, even if it would have been worse. I somehow have the type of personality and wherewithal. I'm very focused. I'm the person you want to have around in a crisis because I'm very level-headed. Now, afterwards, I might kind of poop out a little bit, but I'm just wired that way. And what was also sweet, there were many of us that were checking in with each other, making sure everything was okay. And so we were blessed. I just had somebody come to my home today that just got their power on yesterday. So a week without power. And there are those still without power. There are driving. There's a lot of debris. Even, we're a little bit further east. So Helene hit harder with water. Milton hit harder with wind. And so there was more damage with wind the second round. And obviously it's still more flooding. And, Sarasota, where is the area that I live in, and the beaches here are known to be one of the most gorgeous beaches in the world.
Yeah, I've been there.
Those beaches are destroyed. They're saying it will maybe be months before we can even have access to them. And that's really very sad too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are those the beaches where the sand feels like cooking flour, like baking flour?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like baby powder.
yeah.
Actually, Siesta Key Beach, the sand is made out of quartz crystal. So the energy on Siesta Key Beach is just very special.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we'll see, you know, but many of us feel very blessed that we're alive. One of
Right.
our neighbors, their whole lanai cave,
Oh,
and she just so casually said, that can be fixed.
right.
And it's true, so we have a lot of perspective and a lot of gratitude. And we're
Right.
also praying, no more.
Right. Right. Right.
This was
Right.
very unprecedented.
Right. So you had your own kind of personal storms in the last number of years. And one of them had to do with an injury, and then you had surgery. And what I found so remarkable, so I met you, it would just be like a year ago. It feels like I've known you a lot longer. But you were just coming out of, you were in pain. I think you had surgery after that.
I did.
Yes, yes. And during that time of recovery, you met the love of your life.
Mm, it's a little bit different in order.
Okay, so tell us the story.
Yeah,
Tell us the
but
story.
all
I
those
find it so
parts are
fascinating
correct.
how it's like the lesson for me was that oftentimes myself and others that I work with feel like we need to have all the boxes checked. We need to
Yeah,
have everything lined up. This happens, then this happens, and then this will happen. And I just love how like God takes the messy and the storm and then
yeah,
creates something beautiful. So yeah, so please share your story.
I would love to. Well, there are many. One, I'd like to just even start with the one that happened like 1990. So that's what, 30 some years ago.
Yeah.
And is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and
34 years ago. Yeah.
wow, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of consulting back then, and I was working with a Fortune 100 company. I was flying all over the United States, and I was really, really sick. And I was supposed to fly from Texas to LA. Now, that was the old me that was I was very driven with my career. I guess you could say I was a bit of a workaholic. I loved what I did. It never entered my little mind that, maybe you should tell them you're not feeling so good. Oh, no. So I'm at the Dallas airport. I go outside to get some fresh air because I got sick to my stomach. And I went outside to get some fresh air. This is way before the restrictions we have today. And I passed out. I fell over a ledge and I fell 25 feet.
Oh my.
And so I landed on my right leg and it was shattered. I had a couple of lower back fractures as well. And I was also later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. And I'm very grateful to say that after 10 months, um, and 5 surgeries, I was able to walk again completely. And the brain injury, I think I do pretty well. Some people might question that a little bit, and, and that's okay too. And also in that accident is when my marriage to my son's father fell apart. And he actually came to the hospital, suitcases packed, saying he wished he didn't want to be married any longer.
Wow.
And even though I take full responsibility for my portion that contributed to that decision, timing wasn't exactly optimal, not that it ever is.
Well, that's
And
yeah,
when we went to court, he's an attorney, he was awarded full custody of our son. And that's really when I broke into a lot of pieces.
sure.
And that's also when I started to go inward and really learn me more and better. And to just cut to the chase, Debbie, it's also when my mom suggests I learn how to meditate. And there's a whole story behind that. But through meditation, I started feeling differently. I started to experience differently. It's when the Miraculous Living Method began to present itself and develop. And not only was I able to help me, but I've helped hundreds, maybe thousands now over the years. Now, to fast forward to a couple years ago, I was living in San Diego, California. And I know you've recently been there.
I was there
I
last
love
weekend.
living in San Diego. And I'm starting to feel this kind of pull. And as I have said, I'm highly intuitive now. It's something I'm so grateful for. And I'm like, am I being, kind of given a little nudge that maybe I'm supposed to leave San Diego? And I'm even thinking, where would I live? I San Diego is one of the most beautiful places on the earth to live. But I've also learned to trust my intuition and to follow it. So, at first I took a road trip. I took about 2 weeks up in New England, stopped off and visited with our good friend, my very good friend, Aaron Saxton. And because, again, I'm intuitive, I knew some people up in New England. I had a great trip, no pull whatsoever. And I also Googled best places to live after 65, and Sarasota kind of kept popping up. And I went, I had vacationed in Sarasota when I was a kid. And then a good friend of mine had moved to Sarasota. So I came to Sarasota. Long story short, I moved here. And my conversation to God was also, I am getting a little bit older. This is getting a little bit more challenging. And my biggest wish at that time, my biggest desire, was to finally come into relationship with the man who I would share the rest of my life with. My business was doing well. I was doing well. And yes, before I moved, I was having some issues. My lower leg was starting to give me trouble. I found I didn't have cartilage anymore. I also injured my hip shortly before I moved from San Diego. I had hip replacement Valentine's Day a year and a half ago. These parts. And then when I met you, I was having a lot of trouble with my ankle.
Right.
And so, and I eventually started using a cane. But meanwhile, I kind of got the nudge to get online, and I went out on a few dates. I'm not, I don't lie about my age. I'm honest. I'm also pretty clear what will work for me and what won't. And I'm open to a few surprises in a good way. And I just trusted. This is a really important point I want to make at this juncture. This was a deep desire in my heart. I believe that God places desires in our heart because, first of all, they're your truth. And I also believe that they're like a little carrot dangling in front of you to keep you moving forward, to make your mark, to get whatever that is that's deep within you realized. And that's why I moved from San Diego to Sarasota. And so I did get online, and there were, I had a few dates. But I even canceled my eHarmony. I said, don't reboot me or whatever you say about it. And there was one guy who I'd reached out to that kind of piqued my interest. He looked nice. He had retired, but he was a writer and a retirement coach, and so he also had that spiritual awareness that was important to me personally, but I didn't hear back from him. And that happens. And so then out of the blue, poof, I heard from him. And I was like, oh. And so we ended up talking on the phone shortly after that. I always believe, don't waste time. Have a phone conversation. If you can have a phone conversation, then consider meeting somebody. And we had a great conversation. He was then, he called me again. He was on his way to another community, and he was going to go play pickleball. Well, what he didn't tell me was who he was playing pickleball with. And so he called me on his way back home. He realized that person was not going to be for him. He wanted us to meet. And that conversation, we were on the phone for like 4 hours and 50 minutes.
Wow.
And we just, it seemed like no time had passed. And there's a whole lot more to the story. But he actually talked me into coming up to Lakeland, where he had been living. Lived in Tampa for a long time. I could just tell you all sorts of wonderful things about him. And it was instant. I work with people to help them attract love. And there are certain parameters that I have always suggested to stay within. And I want you to know, I broke some of my own rules.
Yes, tell me about that. I find that so fascinating. Like, you love to talk about love. So anyone that's listening and you're like, oh, like, how could that happen for me? There's a lot of my clients, I know, that I met a lady this past weekend too, and people are looking for the person that they're destined to be with, as you said, for the rest of their life. So tell us about some of your rules. Tell us about some of the rules that you broke, which, I always like a disruptor. Like,
I know. I'm very open and honest about everything.
I love it.
First of all, one of the things that was nice is Steve was pursuing me. And I feel that that's important. One of the things that I know, if a man is interested, nothing gets in their way. They go for it. And you want to go for it. That doesn't mean they might be nervous or scared or, at any age, it can be a little sensitive. We'll just use that word. So as I mentioned, we talked on the phone for all this time, and it was really cute too. After that, as we were ending that conversation, he says, "Oh my gosh, I feel like we already got married and had babies," and it was just so cute. And so, he said, So I was already scheduled to go up to Lakeland. I have two girlfriends. One lives in Lakeland, one lives in Clearwater. And each month we rotate and get together. So it was Lakeland's turn. And I said, well, I'm going to be in Lakeland on Saturday. How about we meet after I get together with my girlfriends? And this is maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I don't remember anymore. And he said, well, I don't think I want to wait till Saturday. And I said, you've made it 74 years without me. I'm pretty sure you can make it another day. Well, being who he is, I want you to know, I was convinced to come up on Friday. He said, you can stay with me. I have a really big house. You can stay with your girlfriend. So meanwhile, I was on a TV show with our pal, Aaron Saxton, and our other good friend, Lauren Solomon. Lauren has a TV show out of California. So after we finished, they know I'm going to drive up and meet Steve that night. And Aaron's like, I am calling you. I'm going to FaceTime you at 9:00 to see how you are. And we're going to have signals.
Yeah.
And if you're okay, if you're not okay. And then I'm also, rule number 1, I never would suggest that you go to the person's area. No, a man comes to you. So blew that one out of the waters. Number 2, I was meeting him at his home. You don't do that. But I have to say, because he was somewhat of a public figure, I was able to learn a lot about him. We had already spoken on the phone for hours. I just, again, my intuition I was at peace. There were no red flags. Now, I'm not suggesting that you guys do what I did. So then I'm talking to my Lakeland girlfriend as I drive up. Oh, I had met another girlfriend prior to leaving. We had already made arrangements to have like a little coffee in the afternoon. And so I'm talking to my Lakeland girlfriend, and she is instructing me what my texting signs are to be, up, down. She said, find the poop emoji. I said, if I'm in trouble, I am not going to try to find the poop emoji.
Oh, my word. Girlfriends are the best. Oh, so fun.
And so what was so sweet is, sure enough, so my girlfriend September knew I was there, and she lived very close. Aaron and Lauren FaceTimed me right at 9:00, so they got to meet Steve right away. I did end up staying at his house. It was so, not only did I go, but oh, by the way, yes, I had brought enough clothes with me for the entire weekend, just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah. So where were my brain cells? And then when I met him, it was just instantaneous. Where, I came to his house, actually he had a beautiful home. And he just hugged me. And I just felt so at home with him. Absolutely immediately. In fact, we were watching The Golden Bachelorette last night. And it's really cute because this is not his normal MO, but he's really getting into it, which I just love. And one of the bachelors, I was like, kiss her. He said, well, he's being a gentleman. I said, no, he's got to kiss her. And I said, you kissed me almost right away. He said, I don't remember. There are things that we both kind of like, who said I love you first?
Yeah.
And so I do remember that night as I was turning over to go to sleep. By the way, it was a PG weekend. I will say that. It really was. Yeah. And it really was. And so, but I will say at some point, we got into our jammies. And so my first date with my sweetheart was actually a pajama party.
There you go. So risque.
Yeah. And it was just so sweet and wonderful. And I remember going to sleep that night thinking, oh my gosh, am I already falling in love with this man?
Wow.
And my second thought was, am I already in love with this man? And that's how it was for both of us. Yeah. It was so instantaneous. There was no question, no concern. It was just like, it's you. And so it's been beautiful. We have packed a lot into our year.
You have. He took care of you. What? Right? As you were recovering, he took care of you.
He did. Yeah, I had ankle replacement surgery June 27th. But even before that, he sold his house. We bought this home that we're in now, which was even a really sweet story how that happened. His house, real quickly, his house had been on the market. And he said, forget it. I'm raising the price. He gets a call. So we came to look at another home that we had actually put a bid in and pulled out. The seller was being a little too persnickety for our taste. And I knew I must not love it enough because I didn't want to fight for it. And then meanwhile, he found this house. And as we were leaving, Steve said, bet you wouldn't mind buying this house. Well, it was also a little more money than what we said we were going to spend. And meanwhile, his realtor calls him and says, somebody wants to come and look at your house later tonight. Okay, fine. And she calls him back that night saying, be prepared for a full cash offer tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, he wants to buy it furnished, which Steve wanted to happen because he bought it furnished. He had only been living there a couple years. And they also want to buy your golf cart. He lived in a golf community. And so, sure enough, so he comes back into the room at some point and goes, you know that little house that you really loved? We can buy that. I'm like, what? So even that was quite miraculous. So we did, and we've spent some time upgrading, remodeling a little. It's just an 11-year-old home that held up beautifully during hurricane. And yeah, June 27th, I had total ankle replacement, which really is a major surgery and a long recovery. And he has been incredible. Now, he had already promised his son that they were going to do a bucket list trip to Scotland. So he did bug out for a couple of weeks, or 10 days, I don't know, which was more than fine. And both my sisters tag teamed and helped me out. But yeah, he's just been amazing. And I felt so terrible because his wife had been diagnosed and had been ill for 7 years before she passed away. And here I said, how do you find us women? You know? and but the good news is I'm getting better. And, I don't know that there's a day that has gone by where we don't thank God for bringing us together to really express gratitude.
Oh, I'm so glad for you. And
Yeah.
what I'm pulling away from that is he pursued you. You followed your intuition. You gave him the gift of being able to take care of you. Because as much as you're receiving his giving, he's getting something from that too. That could be his love language. I don't know. Sounds like maybe.
Yeah.
And that you're both grateful together. I think there's just a lot to pull from that. Wow, we've packed a lot into this chat already. I want to talk a bit about your books. You have 2 books that you've written, right?
Yeah.
And so you said the first one was easy. And so,
fast.
pardon? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wrote it in 5.5 weeks, part-time, very fast. Just kind of flew out of my fingers.
Wow. So I've been sitting there for quite a while, I imagine then.
No, one of my best friends is a publisher, and she has a really unique system. Her name's Robin Simons. She's in your area. She's in Hamilton.
Oh, okay. Ontario, yeah.
And one of my clients went to her, and we were all both living in the San Diego area at that time. And so she invited me to be a part of it. Robin and I had known each other for a long time. And what was so interesting is she worked with my client. And when we were leaving, I said, I want you to do that for me.
Yeah.
And it just made writing my book so much easier. Yeah.
That's awesome. What I meant was sitting within you. I don't know if that's true, but sometimes people say I have a story and it needs to come out. And so I wonder if it's just been percolating there inside of you for a while.
Yeah, I think, I have been a writer for a very long time, mostly though columns or articles, or then, we got into, sending out blogs. But I had started books, but I would get to a certain place and I would stop. And so this allowed me to complete, which was really nice. And then I used your system for my second book, although it did take a little bit longer to write.
So what's your vision? What's your vision for 2025?
That's a great question. First of all, for 2024, this has been a year of, in some ways, celebration. I really have just been enjoying building this beautiful life with Steve. And I'm 73 now. So we came into relationship when I was 72. And so I've enjoyed that. I still have had clients, but because of my relationship and moving and all of that, I haven't worked as much as I usually do, which has been fine for me. And so I thought I would be up and running by now from my surgery, but I have about five clients, maybe 6, that I'm seeing right now. So they kind of keep me honest. But I know that for 2025, first of all, I definitely want to be offering my Attract Love Now program. I'm surprised. First of all, Sarasota and Bradenton, we have a lot, and even in our community that we live in, we have a lot of older adults, and we have a lot of people who are single, and they want relationships, and I want them to have whatever's in their heart's desired.
Mhm.
But also, I'm going to be offering, and and I have loosely talked about doing this together because after he retired, he was in finance and mortgage banking as an executive. I mean, he was in the White House, he was in the CIA for a little bit. This guy's had a colorful life.
Wow.
And so after he retired, he got certification as a retirement coach. And, there are a lot of people that are very happy just playing pickleball and golf and whatever. And then I think there are other people that still feel they want to be contributing in some way, doing something. And I'm a little biased, but I think there's a lot of wisdom with age. And so I'd like to start offering, and that even came out in the retreat that you and I were in with Patty Aubrey, where Patty said, you've been doing what you're doing for a long time. And I have, 40 some years now. And I've been blessed that I've really done a lot, both in the personal growth and professional growth arenas. And she said, you got a lot of older people there. Maybe there's something to do there. And it really kind of, And part of who I am, the reason I've done so many different things is I'm a creative. And so I love creating programs. I love the challenges of new somethings. So we'll probably be offering something in that regard as well. But what I've been surprised about recently is I've gotten a couple of new clients and they're young. One's in their 30s. No, two are in their 30s, another in their early 40s. And one of my good friends just wrote a blog that she sent out. And it had to do with it's never too late. But her lane are like in the 40s. And I can even remember years ago, I had a client who had a TV show out of LA. And her target market were 40 somethings. And even back then, she had me speak about it's never too late. So it's interesting to me, first of all, that I thought I would work with an older population, but I'm attracting younger people. And also that even at a younger age, they're starting to wonder, have I missed my mark? Have I missed my opportunity? And I'm like, no, no.
Yeah.
If I can have a thriving business, I can't say it was thriving every day, all the time. It does this. And sometimes it does this and sometimes it does that. But it always regenerates itself. And, but also to attract the love of my life at 72, I hope that I can be a voice of inspiration because it just so demonstrates it's never too late. If you have that deep desire in your heart, I promise you it's your truth.
Wow. I want to finish us on that note. I love that so much, so much. It embodies. Oh, okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's amazing. Okay, Wendy, how can people get a hold of you?
Easy. First of all, you can email me, wendy@wendydarling.com. If you just want to get a sense of more of what I do or how I do it, go to my website, which is wendydarling.com. And there's a place on there that you can schedule what I call a heart-to-heart. If you want to just talk to me, see more of what I do and how that may or may not fit for you, or just have a question or two, I always am open to that. I love that. And that's probably the easiest and fastest way.
Super. Amazing. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, so open, and just sharing what you teach through what you live. And I think that's the most authentic way of being. And I encourage people to take you up on your offer and have a conversation with you and to realize it's never too late. Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this: flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers, this course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbiesluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.